right, now it's time for some pretty nature shots of this park. And I've got some ideas in mind, but really I'm just gonna walk around and see what inspires me. Alright, so we found these bushes with these fluffy red flowers that we decided to film. This was actually later in the day near sunset, but since the flowers were so cool, we were like, we got to have them for our park shots, but since the sun was setting so fast, we didn't want to waste time setting up a tripod and risk losing the light, and so I decided just to hand hold the camera. And so I want to give you a few tips on holding the camera by hand in case you find yourself in the same situation. First off, it is just a fact that your arms are not as steady as a tripod is. And so if you're not using a tripod and you're using your arms instead, you gotta be extra careful about keeping your camera steady. So you'll always want to hold the camera with both hands. You want to bend your elbows and tuck them into your rib cage, and this essentially creates double brackets supporting your camera. Then you want to bend your knees, and you can even hold your breath if you want to go that extra mile. Now I know this is not the coolest looking pose, you know, I look a little like I am popping a squat, but I don't care because my shot's gonna look good. Oh, so it might be hard to tell how much this stance is helping keep the shot steady since the flowers themselves are shaking because of the wind. But here's another example where the subject stayed still during recording. And on the left, we just held the camera casually with one hand. And on the right, we used that stance with two hands and bent elbows and knees. And you can see it has a lot less shake. Next, we found these ferns here with the sun shining through, so we decided to film them for another park shot. And I faced my camera toward the light, toward the sun, and that gave me these pretty little light flares, and I just went a little fern crazy getting a bunch of different shots. And you'll notice that even though I'm sitting down, I am still using two hands and bent elbows tucked into my sides for stability since I'm hand holding the camera. And since the ferns were looking so magical, I decided to try and get some shots of them with camera movement. Now obviously camera movement is much easier when you have a good tripod or if you're using something like a gimbal, but we ain't about that life for this shoot, right? We're using a budget kit, so if we want camera movement, we're gonna have to use our hands. So I used the same technique as before, and then I moved my entire body to keep things as steady as possible during recording. I also got a couple extra location shots, which I always like to get extra location shots if I have time, because location shots are neutral to your sequence, which means that if you have a little gap on your timeline, let's say you have two shots that you can't put back to back because it wouldn't make sense, then you can often throw a location shot in between them and fill the gap. So they're really nice to have on hand when you're editing. Anyway, we're done with shots of the park, and now we're gonna move on to shots of drinks and food. And we're gonna start with this shot. Okay, so I'm gonna have you hold the bottle up and pour it.
You like it about there?
I don't know, I'm just gonna move it until I find something that I like. I'm trying to get the background as clean as possible because I want people only to be paying attention to you pouring that drink. That looks pretty good. I don't know if that gazebo is kind of competing. Can you angle your body that way? I'm only seeing the top of the bottle. Yeah, so I can film it. Yes. Can you just make sure that the bottle label is turned toward the lens so we can see it? Yeah, okay. I mean, it's kind of beautiful.
Nice job, man.
Bam. All right, that shot's done. And the next shot is an overhead shot of us pouring the drink. And here's what we originally had in mind.
Kind of like that.
Oh man, it would look good over the grass.
Well,
actually, you know what it would look good over is like this stuff. We'll put this here.
Should I just put my feet on it?
No, please don't. Yeah, that looks better. It's creating
more contrast.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what I want. I like that. See, if I zoom in, I'm getting more depth. Pour for me. I think that might look cool. Stand up. And go. That shot is finished. And next up is a shot of us pouring the drink from below the glass. which we envision looking something like this.
I think if we can create an area of sky that's blank for your hand so that your hand isn't competing with the branches behind.
The trees and everything. We definitely want it to be clear under the glass because the water is going to be coming in there. But it's got to be straight up though, right?
I don't know. I'm just playing around until I feel, yeah, that's the one in my soul.
Quick tip, listen to your soul.
We did this and then put it there and then the water splashing down in there. Is that hella weird?
That's weird, but I kind of love it. Let's try it. Hold on. Okay, let's do it on the ground.
That way it just perfectly level. So then you
Oh
put
my gosh,
that there.
y'all.
Or we're literally dumping water onto a camera.
Hold on, wait. Wait, I'm scared. Okay, hold on.
Don't worry.
Dang, it looks cool.
This is what happens when you have time to experiment.
That's really the name of the game, is calm down, move around, and play. Let yourself play. I kind of am obsessed with that shot.
Let's watch again.
Enjoy the fruits of our labor.
Okay, drink shots are done. Now we gotta get some shots of our grub, starting with our salad, and we gotta get that ready.
Now that our salad is done, we are going to film a wide shot, scooping it out of the bowl.
Update, we didn't get that shot. That shot was just not working. I think I was just thrown off my game because there were bees all up in my space.
They think that I'm like a flowering bush or something with this jacket on. I know that they're like saving the world and everything, but they're getting on my last damn nerve right about now.
Anyway, we decided to abandon that shot, and that's okay. If something's not working on your shot list when you go to film it, you don't have to do it. You can totally ditch a shot that's not working, but you gotta do it with caution because you can only drop it if it's not going to mess up your sequence. And in this case, we're doing 2 other shots, plating the salad, so we good. Next up is an overhead shot, scooping the salad out of the serving bowl. And for this shot, we decided to do some camera movement, but we did not use our $20 tripod. And that's because a really cheap tripod is probably not gonna cut it for camera movement. I mean, just look at how sticky and jerky the movement in this shot is that I filmed with that cheap tripod versus this shot that I filmed with a tripod with a quality made fluid head. So while a cheap tripod is good for static shots or shots where your camera is staying still, if we're gonna do camera movement for the shot where we're scooping the salad out, we're gonna wanna handhold instead. And of course, we use 2 hands, bent knees, and tucked in elbows for stability, but we also made our shot steadier by zooming all the way out. And that's because a wider shot means a steadier shot when you're hand holding or moving the camera. So when you're zoomed out for a wide shot, then a little bit of shaking from hand holding the camera is not gonna be that noticeable. But the more your lens is zoomed in tight, the more dramatic and distracting that shaking is gonna look. This is especially true if you're holding a heavier telephoto lens that gets those really close shots, but it can make your arms hella tired. And so we did a wide framing for this handheld movement shot of us serving the salad. And we also did a few takes, which I always do for shots with camera movement, because a lot of times they look really smooth in that little LCD, and then you play them back big on your computer and you're like, oh Lord, what went wrong there? And so if I'm moving my camera, I'm always gonna film a few takes to increase my odds of getting a smooth shot. Anyway, we're done with that shot, scooping the salad out of the bowl, and our next shot is a close-up of the salad landing on the plate that will match the action for.
I really want to get this like super tight. Just moving around until I see something. Actually, that's pretty.
Now I'm turning the plate so that the empty side is closer to the camera, and that way when I drop a scoop of salad on it, all those colorful details are gonna be close to the lens.
That's really pretty. Okay, can you move your foot out?
Y'all, the struggle is real trying to keep Miles' feet out of the shot.
This plate's okay?
Yeah, I like that plate there.
That looks good. Up in the corner though?
I don't like the bread there. You're right, that plastic doesn't look good. Thank you.
And how about the cup and napkins?
Yeah, you can get those out.
We're just trying to get everything that don't belong in the shot out. Get out, you got to go.
Can you wipe that grass off right there? Thank you. Now can you move that plate just a little bit toward the bowl? A little bit more? There we go.
While I'm framing this up, I'm also looking at the edges of my frame. I always like to watch the edges and be very intentional about what I'm including or excluding in my shot. In general, I don't want the edge of subjects touching the edge of my frame because then things are going to look too crowded. I either want subjects inside the edges with plenty of breathing room, or I want to clearly crop out parts of my subjects, but I don't want little slivers of subjects hanging off the edges like they couldn't decide whether they wanted to be in the spotlight or not. Anyway, back to our picnic. Here I am looking for a big old berry to scoop onto that plate for our shot of it landing, and there we go. Now I filmed this shot with autofocus on and it seemed to do a pretty good job, but since my hands were moving in the shot, and sometimes autofocus can get a little confused when there's a lot of movement in the shot, we decided to do another take with manual focus on just to make sure that we didn't have any issues with the focus shifting during recording. So before we recorded, we focused the camera on this strawberry here and then tried to place the incoming berry here so it would be the same distance from the camera.
Now that our salad shots are done, we want to set up the bread and cheese. So we're going to do a shot putting the bread and cheese on the cutting board.
Did you say pudding?
Pudding? What's wrong? No, not pudding, like, no. Okay, so for this shot, you're going to be cutting the bread and the cheese.
I like cutting the cheese.
Oh. Let me kind of take a look at the angles we've got so far. So I want to try to find an angle that I haven't done yet. I've done a lot over here. I wonder if we do something on the ground straight on like this. I like how the sun is coming right there.
Well, you got about 10 minutes
before it moves.
Because it keeps moving so fast.
So now that I've got my shot framed, Miles is going to place the bread on the cutting board for the action. So here's the shot we got. I think it looks a little stiff and fake, to be honest, and obviously we are not professional actors, but I do wish that I had asked Miles to go ahead and start slicing the bread in this wide shot, and then I think it would have flowed more naturally into our next shot, which is a close-up of him slicing the bread.
Okay, I kind of like this, but I wish that the background were blurry behind you. Right now there's a picnic basket. Yeah, that's really close, so if we move that, then I think, yeah, that's better. And go ahead and slice. Oh, this looks so good. Yay.
So that was take one. Then we did another take slicing the bread where you could see that inside grain, and we checked that shot off. Lastly, we did a wide shot placing the bread and the cheese on the plate. And here is the shot we got. And since we were holding the camera by hand and there was camera movement, we did a few more takes just to make sure our motion was looking smooth. And with that, we finished our bread and cheese shots.